Hello everyone and welcome to Kiki Crochet. In this video tutorial we're going to learn how to crochet step by step this beautiful plaid cowl. The total measurements are 92 centimeters length and 30 centimeters width. Now in a few minutes we're going to see how to work a sample. What I want to mention is that the difference between the sample and the cowl that I've made over here is that in the sample I'm working 6 single crochet and 6 rows for every square of my plaid stitch, and in the cowl I have worked a total of 8 single crochet and 8 rows for every square for my plaid stitch. The only difference is that I have 2 extra stitches and 2 extra rows comparing to the sample that we're going to see. Now in the beginning of the video I also have attached a table where I have measurements just in case you want to make this design for a men's, women's or children's size infinity scarf. Okay, so I have posted the total length and width that you need to have in case you want to make this a scarf and not a cowl. So let's go ahead and see how to start. I want to use 2 skeins of each color for the cowl, and we want the yarn to be medium weight. We don't want to use any thicker yarn because we're going to be crocheting with 2 strands at the same time throughout our project, and if you get thicker yarn you're going to have a very thick result. Okay, so if you prefer a very thick result you can go ahead and use thicker yarn, but you'll have to adjust for the size. Now we want 2 skeins of each color. Because I did not have 2 skeins of the same brand, I'm using another brand of yarn, which is the same weight and similar thickness of yarn. Okay, and I'm going to use a 6mm crochet hook. Now let's start our project. Before we start, I want to explain how to adjust your plaid pattern to any size that you want to make your project. So in this case I'm going to use 6 single crochet and 6 rows. Now as many single crochet you're going to use on each square, that's the amount of rows you want to make. So if you're going to work 7 single crochet, 7 rows, 8 single crochet, 8 rows, and so on. Okay, and we want to start our project with the one color, then multicolor, then color, multicolor, and then color. Okay, the single color. So that's how I worked the cowl that I show in the beginning. Now we are only going to work a sample now, so I'm going to use only the first 3. I'm going to work only 3 boxes. But if you want to adjust to a bigger size, we always want to start with a single color and finish with a single color. So I'm going to work 6 single crochet here, 6 here, 6, 6, and 6. And because I want my pattern to have a single color and a multicolor, this right here is the rule, the multiple that I'm going to need for my pattern. So 6 plus 6, I'm going to need a multiple of 12. So right here I have a second time where I repeat the multiple of 12, and in the end I have 6 single crochet that do not fit in my multiple. So the rule is multiple of 12 plus 6 and 1 chain that I need in order to turn to row number 1, and so my pattern comes out right. So the rule is multiples of 12 plus 7. So let's start. Okay, so let's start. I've already begun with my chains. I've worked 19 chains. I need 6 for each box for my plaid stitch. So 6 times 3 is 18 because I'm going to have 3 boxes, plus 1 chain that I need to turn to row 1, a total of 19 chains. And I'm always working double strand. Now skip the first chain and go into the second one and work your first single crochet. 1, next chain, 2, next one, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, this is my 6th stitch. Now, in order to finish the sixth stitch, in order to finish the sixth single crochet, I'm not going to finish with the gray color. I'm going to change color, although the sixth stitch is going to seem as if it's done with the gray yarn, but in the same time we want to change colors. So I'm going to bring my orange yarn, okay, I'm going to leave down the one gray strand, it doesn't matter which one, and I'm going to take through my fingers the orange yarn and one of the gray strands, okay, and I'm going to finish the single crochet with the multicolor. So what I have over here is the sixth single crochet that it seems as if it's done with the gray yarn, but in the same time we changed colors. Now I'm working with the multicolor now, the sixth single crochet, but in the same time I want to bring with me the strand that I left out. So as I crochet my single crochet, I want to crochet in the stitches the strand of yarn. Okay, so just have the strand of yarn on top of your chains, so you're crocheting it in the single crochet. So work your 6 single crochet with a multicolor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now again, the sixth stitch, I'm not going to finish my single crochet with a multicolor. I'm going to leave down the orange yarn, and I'm going to bring up the 2 gray strands, and I'm going to take them through the 2 loops in order to finish the single crochet. So I've worked my sixth stitch. It seems as if it's done with a multicolor, but in the same time I brought up my new color, the solid color, okay? Now I'm going to work my last 6 single crochet, but in the same time I want to bring with me the orange yarn. So I'm working the last 6 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and my last chain, 6. Now the reason that I did not change color is because I'm going to start the new row with a solid color as well, because I want to work, since I'm working 6 single crochet for each color, I want to work a total of 6 rows for every time that I want to repeat the pattern. Okay, so I'm going to work 6 rows with with the colors that I have right now, and then I'm going to change for the next 6 rows. Excuse me. So I'm going to chain one, sorry, and turn my work. Okay, now I'm going to start row number 2, and I'm going to work 1 single crochet in the first stitch, but in the same time I want to bring with me the orange yarn as well. So work the first single crochet, 1, next stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Again, I'm not going to finish the 6th stitch with a solid color because I want to bring the new color up to work the next 6 stitches. So I'm leaving down the 1 gray strand, doesn't matter which one, and I'm bringing up the orange. So I'm holding orange and gray yarn on my hand now, and I'm going to finish the single crochet with a multicolor. Okay, so my 6th stitch, it seems as if it's done with the gray yarn, but I brought up the new color to work the next 6 stitches. But in the same time, I want to bring with me the gray yarn that I left out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now I'm not going to finish the 6 single crochet with the multicolor. I'm going to leave down the orange yarn and I'm going to bring up, the gray strand again. So I'm going to finish the last single crochet with a solid color. Okay, so I finished my 6th single crochet. It seems as if it's done with a multicolor, but in the same time I brought up my solid color. So work the last 6 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure you bring your orange color with you as you go through the stitches. 5, and the last stitch. 6. So this is how our work looks like when we finish row number 2. Now we're going to start row number 3, and we're not going to change color because we're going to continue working with a solid color. So chain 1 and turn your work. Again, we're going to work 6 single crochet with a solid color, but in the same time we want to bring with us the orange yarn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm not going to finish the 6 single crochet with the gray yarn. I'm going to lift down the 1 gray strand, okay, and I'm going to bring up the orange color. So it doesn't matter which strand you're leaving out. Okay, so I'm going to complete my single crochet with a multicolor. So I've worked my 6 single crochet with the gray yarn and I brought up my new color. So now I'm going to work the 6 single crochet with a multicolor, but in the same time we want to bring the gray yarn with us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm not going to complete with a multicolor. I'm going to leave down the orange yarn and I'm going to bring up my solid color. Okay, so I'm going to complete the single crochet with a solid color. So again, I have my 6 single crochet with a multicolor and I've brought up my solid color. So work my last single crochet, my last 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Chain 1 and turn your work. Now again we're going to start with the 6 solid colors. Before you finish the 6th stitch, you're going to bring up the multicolor. Before you complete the 6th stitch with the multicolor, you're going to bring up your gray color. and you're going to work your last 6 stitches. So we've worked together a total of 3 rows. Now I'm going to work off camera the next 3 rows because they are being worked in the same exact way as we did the first 3. So once I finish the next 3 rows, so I'm going to have a total of 6 rows with this color changing of our plaid stitch. I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to work the next 6 rows. I've worked a total of 6 rows with 6 single crochet for each square of my plaid stitch, and this is how it looks like so far. Now we're going to change colors, and everywhere that I have my solid gray, I'm going to work a multicolor, and on everywhere I have the multicolor, I'm going to work solid orange, and again on top of the gray, I'm going to work the multicolor. So what we're going to do is I'm going to cut one of my gray strands, doesn't matter which one. Okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to frog the last single crochet that I worked, the 6th single crochet here. I'm going to frog the last one, and I'm going to work it again, but this time I'm going to bring up the multicolor. So finish the single crochet with the multicolor, chain 1 and turn your work. Work your first 6 single crochet using the multicolor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now again, the 6th stitch I'm not going to complete with a multicolor. I'm going to work a solid color, and I'm going to bring up my 2nd orange strand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take through my fingers the orange strand and the other orange strand that I have on my work. Okay, and I'm going to finish the single crochet with the solid color. Now as I'm working through the 6 single crochet with a single color, I want to bring with me the gray strand. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm not going to complete my 6 single crochet with a solid color. I'm going to leave down one of my orange strands, doesn't matter which one, and I'm going to bring up the gray strand. So now I'm going to work the multicolor. So I'm going to finish the 6th single crochet with the multicolor, and as I work the last single crochet, make sure you bring with you the orange strand that you left out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now again, in the last stitch, I'm not changing colors because the new row that I'm going to start is going to be with a multicolor again. So chain 1 and turn your work. Now as you go through the rows, you'll realize that your yarns are getting tangled, so make sure every time, almost every time that you change your colors, that you untangle your yarn. So now I'm going to start row number 2. Okay, starting from the first single crochet. So it's row number 2 with the new colors, but it's row number 8 if we count from the beginning, okay? So starting from the first single crochet, one, two, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm not going to finish my 6th stitch with a multicolor. I'm leaving out the gray strand, and I'm going to bring up the orange strand to work the solid color. So finish your 6th single crochet with a solid color. So it seems that I've worked a multicolor in the 6th stitch, but at the same time I brought up my solid color. Now we're going to work our next single crochet, our next 6 single crochet, sorry, but make sure you bring with you the gray strand. So always, just so I'm not repeating myself every time, always make sure you bring with you the strand that you're leaving out so you have it with you when you change the colors. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm not going to finish with a solid color. I'm leaving down one of the orange strands, and I'm bringing up my gray strand to complete the 6th single crochet. Okay, now work the last 6 stitches of the row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm not changing color in the end of the row again because I'm starting my new row with the multicolor as well. So chain 1 and turn your work. Work your first 6 single crochet with a multicolor, starting from the first stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm not completing with a multicolor. Leave out your gray strand and bring up the orange one. So complete your 6th single crochet with a solid color. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm not going to finish with a solid color. Leave out one of your orange strands and bring up the gray one. Okay, and finish your 6th single crochet with a multicolor and work your last 6 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and my last single crochet, 6. Okay, so I've worked up until the 3rd row of the new color combinations that we made for the plaid stitch. Now we're going to work the next 3 rows of camera in the same exact way we worked those past 3 rows. Okay, so we've worked the 3 rows of the new color combination. It's the 9th row on my work, and I'm going to work the next 3 rows of camera. Once I finish my next 3 rows, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to bring up the first set of color combinations. I've completed my 6 rows, starting with a multicolor, orange, and then a multicolor again. And this is how my work looks like so far. So at this point I have a total of 12 rows, 6 in the beginning and 6 that I did now. So what this pattern really is repetitions of rows 1 through 12. Now we're going to start working the repetitions of row 1 again. So what this means is that I'm going to start working the solid color everywhere I have the multicolor. Everywhere that I have the solid color, I'm going to work the multicolor again. And everywhere I have the multicolor, I'm going to work the solid color. So I'm going to cut one of the orange yarns, doesn't matter which one. Okay. I'm going to frog the last stitch. So I'm going to work the last stitch again in order to bring up the new color. So work your last single crochet, the 6th stitch. Okay. And because we're going to change colors, I'm going to finish with a new color combination. So I'm leaving out the orange and I'm going to take through my fingers the 2 gray strands and complete the single crochet with a solid color. Okay, now I'm going to chain one, and I'm going to turn my work. So now we're going to work the solid color, color gray, starting from the first stitch. One, two, three, 4, 5, and 6. Again, I'm not going to finish the 6th stitch with a solid color. I'm going to lift down one of my gray strands and I'm going to bring up the orange one. So now I'm going to work the multicolor. So grab the 2 strands and take them through the 2 loops. Okay. So now work your 6 single crochet with the multicolor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now I'm not going to finish with the multicolor. I'm going to bring up my 2 gray strands. Let me untangle my yarn. So bring up your 2 gray strands and work your 6th single crochet. Now work the last 6 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Chain 1 and turn your work because we're going to continue working with our solid color. Okay, starting from the first stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm not going to finish with my solid color. I'm going to leave one of my gray strands and I'm going to bring up the orange strand to finish the 6th stitch. Okay, so now we're working our multicolor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to leave down the orange yarn and I'm going to bring up my 2 gray strands to finish the single crochet with. Okay, and work your last 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Chain 1 and turn your work. So this is how it looks like when we've worked the first 2 rows of the new color combination again. And I'm going to go off camera and I'm going to work the next 4 rows because we want to have a total of 6 rows of every color combination for our plaid stitch. Okay, so I'm going to work the next 4 rows off camera and I'm going to turn my video back on to see how our work looks like at that point and how we can continue working, repeating rows 1 through 12. I've completed working my 6 rows and this is how my work looks like at this point. Okay, now we're going to start repeating rows 7 through row 12 in order to bring up multicolor, orange solid, and multicolor as well. So we're going to cut the 1 gray yarn, doesn't matter which one. We're going to frog the last single crochet. So when you're working your pattern, you won't have to frog. You're just going to bring up the new color. The reason that I do it is because I finished the row off camera, so then I have to frog the last stitch in order to start the new row. Okay, so we cut the 1 gray strand, but before we change color, we want to work the 6th single crochet. Okay, I'm leaving out the 1 that I cut and I'm bringing up the multicolor. Chain 1 and turn your work. And this is how the plaid stitch is being worked. Now that we have seen how to create the plaid stitch on our sample, let's go on our bigger project and see how to finish it. Now at this point my cowl is at 85 centimeters and we're going to finish the process by making the buttonholes. Okay, the difference comparing to the sample that we just created is that I've made 6 single crochet and 6 rows with a 6mm crochet hook, and this gives me a nice cozy result. Okay, now for the project that we're crocheting together, because I started creating the stitch as a sample to see how it comes out, I started with a 5mm crochet hook and I've made 8 single crochet and 8 rows for the plaid stitch. Okay, so depending on how big your squares you want them to be, that's how you're going to adjust the number of stitches and rows that you're going to have in your plaid stitch, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video. And because I crocheted with a 5mm crochet hook, my end result is kind of tight. So this is why I mentioned that you need to crochet with a 6mm crochet hook, so your project is cozy and comfortable. Okay, and the reason that I did not frog is because we're mixing many yarns together and it would be difficult for me to frog, so that's why I continued the project with a 5mm crochet hook. Now, as I mentioned, I have a total of 85 centimeters at this point, the total length, and now we're going to create the buttonholes. Now, in order to create the buttonholes, I have 2 big wooden buttons, and I want each button to stay here. And I'm taking a part of the multicolor and a part of the solid color, and the same on the other side as well. So what I'm going to do off camera now, I've worked 8 stitches with 8 rows. So what I'm going to do off camera is I'm going to work 4 rows, starting with my solid color again, And when I finish my 4 rows, I'm going to turn the video back on to see how to create the buttonholes, okay? So as many rows as you have, go ahead and crochet half of the total of the rows that you make for each plaid stitch, for each time you repeat your pattern. Okay, so if we were here where we have made the 6 rows, you would go ahead and crochet the 3 rows and then make your buttonholes. So since I have 8 rows here, I'm going to work 4 rows off camera, and then I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to create the holes. I have worked my 4 rows and I'm going to turn my work. I've already chained 1, okay? And as I mentioned earlier, I want my buttonhole to take a part of the one square and a part of the other square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crochet 6 single crochet. I'm going to leave 2 stitches on the one square, 2 stitches on the other square, and continue with the other 6 of the multicolor. Now, depending on the button that you're going to use, you will have to adjust the stitches that you're going to leave to form your buttonhole, okay? So I'm going to start by crocheting 6 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, I am not going to finish the 6th stitch with a solid color, because when I work the chain and I'm going to jump over to the next square, I have the multicolor. So I'm going to change my color at this point at the 6th stitch. Okay, so grab the pink color and take both strands of yarn through the 2 loops. So I brought up my multicolor. Okay, and because I cannot bring over with me the other brown yarn, cut it, and we're going to add it back here when we come back to the solid color again. Okay, so now I'm going to work a total of 4 chains because I'm going to leave 4 single crochet. So every single crochet that you're going to miss from your work, that you're going to jump from your project, you're going to substitute it with a chain. So I'm going to skip 4 single crochet. That's why I'm going to work 4 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm skipping 1, 2, 3, 4 single crochet, and I'm going to start crocheting from the 5th. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and now I'm going to bring back the brown color that I just cut. Okay, so I'm gonna take again from the beginning the new brown yarn that I just cut and the brown yarn that I have on my project, and I'm going to finish the last single crochet with the brown color. Okay, so now work your 8 single crochet with a solid color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'm going to bring up the pink color, and here again we want to make the other buttonhole. So I'm going to work the first 6 single crochet as I did on the other side. I'm going to work my 4 chains, skip my 4 single crochet, and jump over to the solid color. Okay, so I just completed the 8th stitch, and now I'm going to work the first 6 single crochet with multicolor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, because right here when I work my chains and jump over to crochet to finish my project, I have the solid color. So in the 6th single crochet, I'm going to bring up my brown yarn to start crocheting with solid color. Okay, so now I'm going to work the 4 chains with solid. 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip 4 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go ahead in the 5th stitch and work your last 6 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And cut the pink yarn so we can add it again when we come back to crochet up here. Now, we've worked 4 rows of camera. The 1 row that we just worked, this was my 5th row, and I want 3 more rows because I always work 8 single crochet and 8 rows. So I need 3 more rows to finish my work. So I'm going to chain 1, turn my work to start the 6th row, which we're going to work together to see how to work on top of the buttonholes, and then the last 2 we're going to work off camera. Okay, so again, start by crocheting your first 8 single crochet with solid color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now inside the first chain, 7, and inside the second chain, 8. But I also want to change the yarns to continue working with multicolor. Okay, so I'm going to leave down one of my brown yarns, wrap around your finger your pink yarn, take one of the brown yarns, and finish your last single crochet with a multicolor. Okay, so now I'm going to work my 8 single crochet with multicolor, starting from the next chain, from the 3rd out of the 4 chains that we've made. 1, next stitch, the next chain stitch, 2 on top of the single crochet, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Bring up your solid colors. 8. Okay, now once I reach the next buttonhole, I'm going to turn my video back on. Keep working your 8 multicolor, 8 solid color, and right here, when I reach the buttonhole, I'm going to turn the video back on to see how to continue. So this is how the buttonhole that we just worked looks like. See how it continues the square of the plaid stitch over here and here as well. Okay, I've reached the spot where I'm going to crochet on top of my chains now. So far I have worked the 6 single crochet multicolor. Okay, so in the first chain, 7, in the second chain, 8, and I'm going to bring up my solid color. and I'm going to work the last 8 single crochet. The first single crochet is in the 3rd chain that I've worked. The first single crochet. The second single crochet is in the 4th chain that I worked. The 3rd single crochet is on top of the single crochet. Okay, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So far I have a total of 6 rows of my plaid stitch, and I need to work 2 more rows because I've been working 8 stitches and 8 rows throughout my project. So far I've made 6 rows. I'm going to work the last 2 rows off camera, repeating the same color changes, and when I finish I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to work a row of single crochet all around, and then how to sew the buttons on our work. So see how nice and neat our color changes are over here, because they change in the same exact spot as they did so far from the beginning of the project. Okay, so go ahead and work the 2 last rows, and then I'm going to turn my video back on. I have completed crocheting my 8 rows of 8 single crochet, and this is how my work looks like at this point. What I'm going to do now is, because even though I used the same exact color, the same exact brand of yarn, the same type, the same weight, the pink yarn came out a little thicker. This gave me a result of having narrower, wider rows on my plaid stitch. In order to fix that, I'm going to go ahead and work all around 1 row of single crochet. So I cut the pink yarn because I'm not going to need it anymore. I'm going to crochet with the brown one, and I'm crocheting with the brown yarn because I have more brown yarn left than I have of pink. Okay, so I'm going to chain 1 and turn my cowl sideways. What I want to do now is I want to crochet 1 single crochet on top of the first single crochet of every row. If you're afraid you're going to get confused, you want to have as many single crochet as the number of rows you've crocheted for your plaid stitch. So since I've worked 8 rows of every color of the plaid stitch, I'm going to have a total of 8 single crochet on top of every square I have of the plaid stitch. So let's start. Okay, so put your hook on the first single crochet that you just crocheted. Okay, so that will be our first stitch. 1, next stitch, 2, next one, 3, and make sure you're crocheting double strand as you were doing throughout your work, because if you're going to work 1 strand now, your work is going to shrink. Okay, so this was my 3rd stitch. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so this was on top of my solid color. Now on top of your multicolor, your next 8 single crochet. 1, 2, and so on. Keep crocheting 1 single crochet up until you reach down here at the end, where I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to crochet on top of the corners, and then we're going to finish crocheting off camera. I've worked all my single crochet going downwards. Okay, the gaps here, the wider and the narrower part, they kind of fixed a little bit. You can still see the difference though. Okay, so I've worked the last single crochet going downwards. I want to put my hook in the same exact stitch that I just worked the last single crochet and work 1 more single crochet, and then I'm going to turn my work and start working down here. Okay, now we're going to work on the bottom loops of the chain stitches that we worked to start our project. Okay, So put your hook in the first chain. So we're crocheting in the remaining loops that are left from the single crochet that we worked in the first row. Okay, so these are the 2 remaining loops of the first chain. Single crochet, the next chain, the 2 remaining loops, single crochet, the next chain, the 2 remaining loops, single crochet, next chain, the 2 remaining loops. Now it's very easy to get confused and work 2 single crochet under the same chain stitches. So make sure that you see where you have worked your single crochet, and on that same stitch, that same chain stitch, you want to work your single crochet. See how perfect our corner is? This is how we want to work all of our corners throughout our project. So keep working 1 single crochet in the chain stitches. Work the same way the corner over here. Then continue going upwards, working 1 single crochet in the first stitch of every row. Then up here, the corner, you're going to work in the same exact way. 1 single crochet up here on the single crochet that we worked in the last row. And when I reach the single crochet that I begun the row working around, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to finish off. I have completed crocheting all around. I've worked the last single crochet in the same stitch that I worked the first single crochet. Now I'm going to put my hook in the first single crochet for this row, slip stitch, chain 1, cut your yarn and fasten off. And this is how our cowl looks like at this point. Now that we've completed crocheting all around, we're going to adjust our buttons, and I want to fold my project in a way that I'm seeing the good side. The good side of my project is the side that I'm seeing the good side of the single crochet that I just worked. Okay, so I want to fold diagonally the one side. Okay, make sure you're not adding your buttons on the same stitches that we did our buttonholes. This is not where you want to put your buttons, because your project is not going to come out as a cowl. It's going to become an infinity scarf. So if you want to make a cowl, fold diagonally and bring on top and fold diagonally as well your buttonholes. So make sure you align the corner of the buttons with the corner of the bottom part of the bottom piece, and you want to have this triangular looking cowl. Okay, this is your neck. This is where the neck is going to go through. Okay, and this is where the buttons are going to be sewed into. Okay, let me show one more time. Fold diagonally. These are the 2 spots where the buttons are going to sit. Okay, fold diagonally on top the piece that you have your buttons. Make sure you align the corner of the bottom piece with the corner of the top that you just folded. Okay, and put a stitch marker or put a piece of yarn so you know where you're going to attach your buttons on the bottom piece over here. Okay, and once you button your cowl, this is how it's going to look like. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to attach my buttons off camera, and the only thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the pieces of yarn on the bottom side and I'm going to make a knot. That's how I always attach the buttons on my crochet projects. Okay, so once I attach my buttons, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how our cowl looks completed. I've completed crocheting my cowl. This is how it looks like. I weaved in all of my ends. Okay, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and if you like the video, please press like and leave a comment. Thanks again. Bye bye.